St. Louis is getting all gussied up for the All-Star game next week. Although the final lineup has yet to be drawn, I would say it seems certain, even appropriate, that Albert Pujols start on first base for the National League. Many would say he is clearly the best all-around hitter the game has to offer today, and that maybe he's even the best ground player, all-around player as well. He's having another monster season for you who don't follow baseball, leading the National League in both home runs and in RBIs. And he's among the leaders in batting average. Yet, did you realize that when Albert Pujols bats, 2 out of 3 times, he fails to get a hit? That's 66% of the time he fails. Fay Vincent, a baseball commissioner, wrote these words about baseball. Baseball teaches us how to deal with failure. We learn at a very young age that failure is the norm in baseball. And precisely because we've failed, we hold in high regard those who fail less often. Those who hit safely in 1 out of 3 chances and become star players. I also find it fascinating, he wrote, that baseball, alone in sport, considers errors to be part of the game, part of its rigorous truth. As the year of St. Paul drew to a close last week, I can't help but think Paul, in that second reading we just heard proclaimed, would have appreciated that and how true it is. Because you see, Paul was a perfectionist. Many of us are too, at one level or another. In academics, in professional work, in our hobbies even, and in most of our relationships. We are perfectionists. We want to do our best in every situation, and we live with this intense fear of making mistakes, especially if that mistake might be witnessed by other people. We experience intense feelings of inadequacy and a sense of our own flawed self being seen by other people and judged by other people. And so it becomes for us an experience of shame. An experience of shame. Perfectionism and shame, you see, are very connected. It means that somewhere along the way, it became not about what we do, but about who we are. We made it not about this act, this failure, but about who I am. This mistake, this failure somehow says that I'm a mistake. I'm a failure. Somehow, the desire to do our best got translated into being the best. Likewise, when you and I are faced with the imperfections and flawedness of our work or what we do, we conclude that somehow we are inferior. So we want to be perfect in every aspect of our lives, and we can't be, and that can be crippling to us. We become painfully self-conscious. People are looking at us. People are probing for our mistakes. We feel exposed. Our mistakes, our failures expose us for the whole world to see. It's not just that we regret making mistakes. We all experience mistakes. But we begin to think that that mistake reveals something essentially flawed about me. So we judge ourselves harshly and quickly for any possible flaw, and other people too. We like to compare to make sure you and I are superior to everybody else. We dread criticism and self-evaluation. It's our full-time job now. We can almost all be guilty of the charge that if someone pays me a compliment, it's hard to believe it. But if somebody tells me something bad about me, it sticks. My friends, how did we come to this? Becoming perfect is a way not to have to feel shame anymore. If I'm perfect, I'll never have that experience of shame. It's almost a protection, perfectionism is, from the experience of shame. The powerful cultural message, and the message of some religion as well, is that if you want to be acceptable, you must achieve perfection in every area of your life. And that's a destructive message. And the more capable we are, the more likely we are of experiencing this kind of perfectionism. And Washington University is full of capable people. You're not good enough as you are, some religions and culture would tell us. If any religion or anything in culture emphasizes excellence at all costs, it won't be long before performance will be linked to personal worth. And you know something, and you know it. That's a heavy load to carry. In that second reading you just heard proclaimed this morning, Paul writes of his own weaknesses. In public, out loud, no shame, no regret. It's just a fact of his life. Yeah, he wrote for the whole world to see. Yeah, I got weaknesses I've tried so hard to get rid of. I've prayed them away, and they're still there. They ain't going away. Now, I got to tell you something. This was something he could have never done had he not met something on the road. Something unconditional. Some incredible risen love. He could have never come to this because Paul was a perfectionist. He tried hard. He tried really hard to do it right, to get it right, to say it right, to be right all the time. But then something happened to him that changed all that. How did he get here? How did he get to the point of being able to say out loud in front of the world, yeah, I'm weak. I don't get it right. I doubt that Paul could have ever said that out loud without that experience. Because at the heart of his Phariseeism was perfectionism. That's part of why the law became such a burden to Paul, because he could never live up to it. It became such a source of unfreedom to him. But something happened to him that set him free from all that. And what he's doing in this reading, and I can't think of a better way to bring the end of the year of St. Paul to a close. Paul is emphasizing worth, your own personal worth, as distinct from your achievement or your performance. And I'm going to suggest to you that's one of Catholicism's best gifts to the world. That who you are and your value as a human being is totally beyond anything you ever do or screw up, ever. Oh, I can hear your rebuttal. Knowing how steeped you Catholics are in the Bible. Well, Father Gary, what about that line in the Bible where Jesus says, be perfect? Be perfect, Jesus says. For sure. On the surface, it seems to be right there in support of the idea of perfectionism. But I got to tell you something. Jesus could not have said, be perfect. Because there's no word in Aramaic or Hebrew for perfect. What Jesus actually said was this: be whole, be full grown, be complete, be finished, Be entire. Have integrity. Or perhaps another way to say the same thing would be, love to your full capacity, however great or small that capacity may be on any given day, or even most of the time. Love to your full capacity, however small or great that may be. Because you see, it's a matter of allowing ourselves to be filled with this overflowing love, the love with which God loves. It's an exhortation, my friends, to grow in holiness. When Jesus says be perfect, what he's saying is keep growing in holiness and in wholeness, in spiritual maturity, and in your capacity for love. In short, you and I are called to just do the best we can, but only with the understanding that we are loved and accepted regardless of how badly we may fail at times. To see our goodness and live out of this all the time, that you and I are children of God and are a beloved part of this entire universe, all of creation. That just might help us distinguish ourselves from our choices and our behaviors. Truth is, we are loved, we are accepted just as we are, even when our choices have terrible consequences. And we can hold that together in ourselves, you and I, both our imperfections and our potential. We are not striving for flawlessness. We are striving for growth in our capacity to love other people as God loves us. Now, when I ran this homily through one of my friends, he said, Gary, in the whole homily, that's the most important thing that you wrote. And so I read it again. You and I are not striving for flawlessness. We are striving for growth in our capacity to love other people as God loves us. Let it be said, as I have heard it before, a person over 30 has nothing to learn from success and everything to learn from failure. Spirituality teaches what baseball does, that errors are part of the game, part of its rigorous truth. As my confessor says to me at the end of almost every confession, Gary, you are not perfect. You are forgiven. And I would add, not limitless, but loved.